Okay. I want the constraint every 20 seconds. Yeah, go on. Right. Okay, so these are some wooden Teletubbies sold by a street trader in Java. They're riding on the back of a traditional chariot in a position usually occupied by gods and demons. So Dipsy and Poe are so well known that they occupy the same cultural touchstone niche. So to me, this is good sci-fi, this kind of stuff. I don't like making a distinction between fiction and fact. So this is the kind of thing that should be sci-fi, but kind of isn't. This is Ron Herron's Walking City from 1964 when he was working for the architecture studio Archigram. These cities would walk around the country. It's a design provocation meant to get people from home to work quickly. Now we telecommute, but I prefer the walking cities. This is a walking city, kind of. It's Cedric Price's aviary at London Zoo. It looks like it should move, it doesn't. On the same pattern, he made another one in the 80s for rare birds that were too expensive to let out to let the ground recover from the bird shit. So what he did is he made this building that would walk around the land as the birds landed on the side of the building, and it would move really slowly around, waiting for the ground to recover. This is also not sci-fi, but it moves around. It's a robot with slime mold growing on it, which doesn't like light. The computer monitors where the slime mold moves and moves the legs accordingly, which means the entire robot ends up scuttling away from the light. It's got 6 legs, and it's a robot with slime mold for a brain. How much more sci-fi can you get? And it's real. Okay, we'll have some actual sci-fi now. This is a story from Italo Calvino about the old days when the moon was close to the Earth. You could get up on the ladder. And it's about the moon milk being very thick, and it formed in the crevices. Well, let's see, it was composed of vegetable juices, tadpoles, bitumen, lentils, honey, starch crystals, sturgeon eggs, molds, pollens, gelatinous matter, worms, resins, pepper, mineral salts, combustion residue, as the moon flowed over the deserts. So here's another moon, often the second moon of Earth, called Corythne. Its orbit doesn't actually go around the Earth, it goes behind the Earth a bit, and every time it gets near the Earth, once a year, it gets pulled on a bit. After 435 years, it ends up going all the way around the Sun. That's quite cool, I quite like to go there, because I quite like space. This is a map of all the stars then, 250 light years. So that star at the end here couldn't affect me because it's 200 light years away, 200 years to get there, but I'm 28, so this one could. When I wrote my tax, I put in the introduction that as I was writing the intro, the information was passing the star P. Eridani. Now those are the only words I can read in all the translations. It's kind of a persistent URI for space-time across languages. So proper sci-fi now, Greg Egan's Diaspora. Near the beginning of the book, there's a star called Lacerta which explodes and bombards the Earth in radiation. There's a forced consciousness upload, and we need some landscape where there are humans dying and the sun beating down and scientists standing in the middle, and so I took this picture from Tate Modern, which I think summed it up. Waves of nanoware from the book were sweeping through Orlando's body, shutting down nerves and sealing off blood vessels to minimise the shock, leaving a moist pink residue on the rubble. Its flesh was red, then cannibalised for energy. All the waves converged to form a grey mask over the face which bored down to the skull and ate through it. The shrinking core of nanoware spat fluid and steam, reading and encoding synaptic impulses. I quite like this idea of self-powered things, so I designed this scanner which has no plug. You put the paper in, it goes to the computer, at the same time it shrinks, goes into the compost, where it's eaten by worms, release methane, because that's what worms do, which burns into a flame which heats the air, which powers the turbine, which spins to powers the battery, which feeds back into the scanner. Patent pending. I also like networks. I'm obsessed with networks because we live in networks. So then I found some quite cool things. This is a panel from the Chap telegraph, which is a mechanical telegraph, flashes black and white. You read it through a telescope, you have more and more networks. He built the first one in 1791, this chap called Chap, in France, and transmitted the message, first one, if you succeed you will bask in glory, and he did. 1840, 535 telegraph stations all over France. Went out to Belgium, Holland, Germany and Italy. Keep in mind, the electronic telegraph didn't take off for another 40 years, and electricity at the time was really, really hip. I was reading electronical engineer magazines from the 1880s. They talk about experiments. They also talk about people being hit by lightning. It's that kind of, oh, it's about electricity, must be cool. Another network in Paris, 1880s, 45th, the offices, pneumatic tubes. These ones have magnetic strips on them, so you can automatically route the tubes around Paris. This is 1931, automatically routing capsules. The Americans didn't invent packet switching until July 1961. The French are brilliant. But this one is in this one is in London. It's the hydraulic system formed in 1877. Anytime somebody needed mechanical power, they push down the water, and it opens the curtains at the Opera House. The tubes were sold to a phone company in 1985, and they're full of optic fibres now. Very sad ending, this one. Where electric lifts were invented, they didn't sell because hydraulic ones are so good. The electric company bought the hydraulic power station, shut it down. Now this is the metabolic cycle. I told you I like networks. It's a map of all the biochemical reactions on Earth. I have no idea what any of it means, except this bit is the Krebs cycle, which is the citric acid cycle. It's the fossil of the whole cycle. It exists for everything. Out of it comes fats, sugars, and amino acids. If an organism can't tap into that cycle somehow, it just doesn't matter. So let's zoom in. It looks like Clapham Junction. This is what I love about this cycle. It's a closed cycle. It's the engine of life. Every ecosystem has to have it. It's a combustion engine. Sunlight in, everything else out. Life eats life. Each step of the cycle is mediated by a chemical, that's citric acid. Somewhere it means that when you eat a lemon, you're looking end-on at the very fossil centre of life itself. Last network. It's a 1975 NASA paper about building a sustainable space station. Closed loop for people and what people produce, I think. So 1975 is 8 years before the first TCP/IP network. The internet distracted us. Without it, we would have underwater cities and moon bases and space stations. Pictures of kittens, you know. And so I couldn't talk about this kind of stuff without showing you this 1970s picture of what NASA thought space stations would be like. And what I like most about it is the inside of the house here doesn't have a roof, because you don't need it. Climate control. The outside does. I don't know why. It's a bit greasy. And there's an escalator to get down. I don't know. All the future has escalators. They should really all have helicopters. Space stations. Of course, are a closed space, as are all networks, and that's like the web itself. So I like cities. This is Çatalhöyük, founded around 7,500 BC, 3,000 years older than Ur, which is the Sumerian city from where we get urban. This was invented before they had streets. To get to your house, you climb on top of the city, along the top, and you drop down your chimney. When somebody dies, you bury them under the ground, and you build a new house on top of it. So I finished something else sci-fi which is real. This is Project Cybersign, 1970s revolution. Chilean government got a cyberneticist to build themselves a biological nervous system. It's got 7 seats and swivel chairs because that's creative. The next government came in, they looked at it, didn't understand it, tore it out. The story of our times.